It's election day in Nigeria as voters are expected to troop out in their large numbers to elect the next president and members of the National Assembly to lead this great nation for the next 4 years. Some say today's election is historic, while others describe it as a turning point for Nigeria. Good morning and welcome to Election Watch, our special coverage of the presidential and National Assembly elections scheduled to take place today. My name is Kolawole Akintoba, and I have with me Barrister Wale Ogunade. He's a constitutional lawyer, a human rights activist, and President Awareness Initiative, Political Awareness Initiative. Barrister Wale Ogunade, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nigerians.
I'm sure you're excited.
Yes, I'm excited.
As every Nigerian is.
Yes, particularly for me. I've been in the trenches for the past 4 years, preaching one gospel. Gospel according to voting right, and of course having a strong democratic institution, and for Nigerians to remove that toga of apathy. And the build-up has really encouraged me, and that all the efforts people like us, including the media, including this organization, has been putting, it has not gone in vain. And of course today will be the icing on the cake. And I hope that Nigerians will just make a good opportunity of it. Just go out, vote. No violence. Today is not a feast day. Feast, I mean feast, is a thumb day. We just come out, put our thumb on the ballot
and go home.
And go.
And wait for
or those who want to watch, they will watch from a distance. And if they observe that there are some people who want to cause any stress in terms of disturbing the system, there are security agents all over. They will just give them the notice that these people want to disturb the peace of the land. And of course, they will just be dealt with appropriately. That's all. It's going to be a peaceful day.
Right. I know you've been an active, Nigerian in terms of monitoring elections in this country, in terms of actively participating in the processes. Now, let me ask you, since 1999, this election appears to be the most interesting out of all the elections.
Yes.
What makes this election different from the others?
It's a build-up. Right. 1999, people say na lie, na lie. In 1999, the military were still on. They wanted to hand over. Don't forget, we are still smarting from the Maradonic era, where that man was busy dribbling us. So people have already lost hope. 2003, people still did not really want to believe that the elections will hold or that the vote will count. 2007, obviously, Obasanjo with his own style, with the do and die politics and so on. And don't forget, was this man in Mokola, the Ibadan Baba. I guess is he Adelabu now? Adelabu, of course. Adedibu, the Amala politics, and of course Shola Saraki, the father of Bukola Saraki, with his own Begiri politics in Ilorin, and so on and so forth. So the vote was not able to count, indeed, and people really did not have confidence in the electoral process. But we want to thank God, since the era of Jega, that was in 2007, 2011 elections, we started seeing serious improvements in the electoral process. Technology were introduced, and of course, it took us to the present situation where we have what we call the biometric voters accreditation system. And of course, that's BVAS, and of course, it helps a lot.
That's a new process.
It's a new process entirely, and of course, it was test run in Ekiti, and of course, we saw the result as it now made nonsense of the elections. That's those who wanted to rig in Osun State, and I hope that people will have learned lesson to ensure that nothing untoward happened. Secondly, I just want to tell the politicians to be very careful, and tell their wards and agents to be very careful. Apart from monitoring election, I'm one of those who are lucky to be involved in election litigation, and of course, in election litigation is a clearly technical issue. There's what we call the substantial compliance, there's what we call the technical compliance, and that's what we call the partial compliance, and that's what we call the total compliance. So if the compliance level is very, very low, obviously it will have a lot to do with the election. But I don't even pray that will go to the courts or the tribunal. I just hope that people will just come, vote, and of course there will be a clear winner.
I have an interesting question for you, but I'll leave it for later. In terms of litigation and courts trying to answer issues related to politics.
Yes.
We'll come to that later.
Okay.
Very quickly, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll bring you a live report from Anambra and Ogun State, where our correspondents are standing by. Stay with us. It's Election Watch on Galaxy TV.
Much as the Nigeria police has perfected plans to engender a peaceful electoral process, the following have been identified as possible challenges. 1. Continuous and targeted attacks on INEC facilities by subversive anti-democratic elements. 2. Activities of terrorists, bandits, and secessionists and self-actualization elements. 3. Patronage and deployment of subnational quasi-security outfits by state actors to advance political interests in violation of the Electoral Act. 4. Political thuggery, inter-party crisis and inter-party crisis and intra-party violence. 5. Hate speeches, political intolerance, and extremism, as well as anti-democratic conduct of some state governors and other strategic political actors.
Further assured that the Armed Forces of Nigeria is very prepared to support the Nigerian police and other government agencies responsible for conducting elections. The CJS has sent out strong messages that the Armed Forces of Nigeria is committed to total collaboration with other security agencies to ensure this election is successful. In the words of the CJS, the election will be conducted at...
You're welcome back. Straight away, we'll take you to Anambra State, where our correspondent Dele Fason is standing by. Good morning, Dele. Yes, give us a sense of what is happening in Anambra, where you are presently.
Thank you very much. Presently at the RAC Center in Amobia. Amobia is about 20 minutes away from Awka, the state capital, where materials are beginning to leave the RAC Center here. This RAC Center here in Amobia is where materials for major wards and units in the 21 local government, where they come to pick up their materials for their various where voting will take place. As at last time, you can see behind me here, we have about 4 buses waiting to convey material. And then an officer of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps here, ensuring are done properly to monitor these vehicles going to their destination. These are the remaining vehicles now that will be going to Awka and the environs where voting will commence. That is the present situation at the INEC RAC Center here this morning as I speak with you, just about 15 minutes past 7.
These materials and also the security situation in places you visited in Anambra.
Yes, where we did wreck, where we did the last spoke our own aspect about the logistic issue. That money has been given out to the people to convey material. Themselves has been paid. We also met the AIG, the DIG in charge of elections in the southeast here. He spoke on their preparedness that everything is in place. Coming towards Amobia here, along the Awka Amobia way, as we're driving down, the presence of security and soldier men in most of the locations here, this stop and search is cordoning up. They gave us the assurance, the DIG, they gave us the assurance that everything is in place to ensure an issue-free exercise, that anybody that has no business going out should stay indoors. But presently, the security situation, as I speak with you, along Awka and Amobia Road, where I monitored, and even what the DIG told us there, that everything is in place. At present, there is no crisis whatsoever as I speak with you. In Amobia, where I am right now, sir, outside, there are policemen there, men of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, ensuring that everything is done orderly at this present moment.
In terms of the awareness by people in Anambra State, especially given the security situation there in the southeast generally, how well do you think they're prepared to come out today to exercise their civic rights?
Some of the feelers will get this morning, some of the passersby that we spoke with, if they are prepared to come and cast their vote, some of them are still apprehended. See, that fear is still with them, the initial threat by some unknown gunmen that nobody should come out for election. Though the police have given the assurance, but the residents, they still this fear in some of them. Some say they will not come out and cannot risk their life to come out and vote during the election. And another thing I will tell you again, this cash crush issue, one thing we discovered since the last 2 days in remaining Oka here is that most of them, the cash issue is really taking its toll on them because there is no money and the residents say they cannot go to the PO 5,000 naira, the commission has to be 2,000 naira, say, so they cannot spend their money for their life to do. So they still fear that, and we hope in the end but we still experiencing it as the time goes on. But what we are taking, the feelers we are getting from the residents here, those with their PVCs are saying despite having their PVCs, some of them may not come out for fear of the unknown.
As the elections progress. That was our correspondent, Dele Fason, calling us from Amobia in Anambra State with that update. Very quickly, we'll take another break. When we come back, we'll go to Ogun State, where John Felix is standing by. Stay with us. It's Election Watch on Galaxy TV.
Everyone will be at the liberty to exercise his franchise. He is going to be very assertive to let Nigerians know that starting from 12:01 a.m. to 6 p.m. of Saturday 25th February 2023, there will not be any movement, regular movement, or so-called regular movement, or tricycle movement, or boats on the waterways. Restriction order is very, very key at this point in time for us to have a well-organized security arrangement for the success of the electoral process.
We call on all citizens and residents to be law-abiding before, during, and after the elections. Eligible voters are enjoined to cast their votes without any form of violence and also maintain the peace after that. To achieve the desired environment for the elections, the service engaged in proactive and intelligence-led operations across the state.
Okay, welcome back into the studios. We'll take you straight away to Ibadan, your state, where our correspondent Kunle Ojo is standing by. Good morning, Kunle. Yeah, what's the update from Ibadan?
Very much for having me at this time. I can report to you that I'm live at Ikolaba Grammar School, where we have one of the rack centers designated for Ibadan North. And this particular rack center is serving Ward 4 and 5 in Ibadan for this exercise. As you can see right behind me, we have the youth corps here that are serving as ANEC ad hoc staff. They are with their materials. Some of the materials are meant for Ward 4 and 5. Some of them have gone, but we have others being released to the core member for onward movement to Ward 4 and 5. To various polling units at Ward 4 and 5, and I can confirm that we have security men on ground here to ensure law and order. So material is being distributed here as one of the rack center designated for Ibadan North.
The logistics generally and mobilization of ad hoc staff, what are you saying?
Expect that by now this set of people should have moved from this particular location to their respective polling units where they will need to set up and do one or two things. But I believe maybe they are experiencing one or two hiccups, which is still delaying them. You can see some of them are still sitting down, but while others have been attended. So one expect that before now, this set of people should have moved from this location to the various polling units at Ward 4 and 5 to this morning exercise. But as of now, the material is being given to them for the onward movement to their respective locations.
Come back to you much later for you to give us more updates from Ibadan. Thank you, Kule, for that update.
Thank you for having me.
Basha Ogunade, let me come back to you. You've had a few of the reports from Anambra, from Ogun, and also from Ibadan. What's your take on what we have so far in terms of the movement and mobilization?
It's still early.
It's too early in the day.
It's still early. It's still seriously early in the day, and some of us, I woke up on time because of this special commitment. I have to come nearby. There are some people that were not able to sleep very well, and they have to relax and refresh. That's the officers now I mean, and because when we were with them at their office in Lagos here, that's INEC I mean, the officers were still running up and down. There are a lot of things to be sorted out. There are some materials that have not arrived, like they did, I guess, in Ibadan or Oka or somewhere. So it's still a teething period. In the next 1 hour, it will be getting clearer.
The question is, the way things are, should we be having these teething problems? We're not new in the game.
That's my problem. After this now, we equally write a report that it shouldn't be, because we thought we have gone through.
Should just be like clockwork.
Because at Osun election, by this time, they were good to go. I wouldn't know, maybe because this one is a big one, but even if it's a big one, everybody will have a responsibility and their duties, and they will just man their duty post. And of course, there won't be any all this. We are waiting for somebody like this one. Now they are telling us that everyone is ready. They are just waiting for maybe somebody who will give the instruction or open the place for them to bring out the materials and so on. That shouldn't be. Maybe that person should have slept in the office or look for a hotel nearby, or even just ensure that they do something whichever way to get the result, not that it will be this time that somebody is holding someone to ransom. And I hope that they will quickly get their acts together, because you see, it's a natural thing. If people begin to hear information that they are not ready, then of course it will put some people back. We are all natural. Some people will say, okay, they are not ready. He will now put his hand on some other thing, and that one will now put him, keep him busy. And after some time, the news will be that, that place is rowdy. And of course, they will now say, I'm no more interested. Like what they did, the Anambra report, that yes, people are skeptical, people are weary, people are fearful. A combination of those three can really cause a whole lot of stress.
Okay, we'll take another short break. When we come back, Dr. Dele Shetolu will be joining us as we progress with this discussion. Stay with us. It's Election Watch on Galaxy TV.
Distribution stage, but in other stages of the election. So far so good. We can say INEC has done well, and will continue to monitor closely to ensure that this election is the most free and fairest ever conducted in this country, so that the outcome will not only be acceptable, but everybody will be happy with it.
BN had very good security already before we even come in. So the main problem is we don't know the security outside. But security here is 100% okay. Series of meetings political parties had with INEC before, and what we have been expecting by now, I believe there shouldn't be any problem, because we have seen Professor Mahmoud has tried, and in fact we'll give him kudos, and we give kudos to INEC, because INEC has done fantastic.
There are packages of ballot papers and the rest, but the issue is that why I'm a bit worried is that when documents like this are being brought for election, serial numbers of such documents are usually assessed by all political parties, so that things untoward may not transpire in the process. As they are displayed, well, they are displayed local government by local government, which I don't query. But the contents and the serial numbers of the ballot papers or documents going to which local government is what I'm querying about.
It has been very smooth and very explicit to everybody. There is no hidden agenda. Everything is plain. INEC has really done a lot of innovations. It's a very good job. You should not be skeptical of anything. The new Electoral Act has protected all citizens. It has given us a lot of privileges. Nothing we should fear of. There is no hidden agenda. The election will go without problem.
Thank God. The distribution of the materials went on smoothly and accurately. The INEC officials played their part and they played their role according to the game, and we are satisfied with the distribution of the materials. We have same thinking, and they are ready to work without bias.
Okay, welcome back into the studios. We have Dr. Dele Sheteolu, political scientist and public affairs analyst, joining us in our studio. You're welcome, Dr. Sheteolu.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Right. Just before you came in, I was asking Barrister Ogunade what, in his own opinion, makes this election different from the elections we've had since 1999. So I'd like to have your views on that.
Well, in political theory, there's a concept we refer to as critical election. Critical election is defined in terms of its criticality, in terms of its relevance and significance and consequences for the polity and the economy and society. The first critical election Nigeria had, based on the literature, was the '59 Independence Constitution, to the extent that it was a transition from colonial rule to post-colonial administration. It was most significant in that respect, you know. And well, in this case, I would equally describe the 2023 as a somewhat critical election. It is critical to the extent that that Nigeria is at the crossroads. Nigeria is in dire straits. Nigeria is in a somewhat conundrum, and there seem to be mass agitations and mass protestations among Nigerians, you know, to use the ballot box, you know, to vote, to make some other choices other than what appears to be the status quo. The security deficit in Nigeria, which is affecting all the regions, and which is questioning the fundamentals of the Nigerian state and the basis of the Nigerian Federation. And by security deficit, I meant banditry, kidnapping, terrorism, etc., etc. They're constituting major problems and major issues that are threatening the state. So, that presupposes why security question has been a major issue in election discourse. So the future of Nigeria is threatened. The future of Nigeria is endangered, and the electoral outcome, the outcome of the 2023 elections, will likely have implications, in my view, for the future of Nigeria. You know, in two senses. If the status quo, you know, I make no apologies to say this, is retained, there will be further agitations, there will be further protestations, there will be further militancies.
Well, let's leave the voters to decide.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. And the agitations and the struggles to address the national question will become far more potent. You know, I'm afraid, you know, Nigeria is riddled with major and fundamental problems, and we're not addressing those problems. So election as it is it will be a precursor to resolving some major fundamental structural, deficits in Nigeria's political economy.
Mr. Ogwande, let me come to you. He's raised some very critical issues.
Yes.
In advanced democracies all over the world, they don't go into elections and you're talking about banditry, terrorism, security, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Where did we get it wrong, and what do we need to begin to do to rework the Nigerian structure?
Yes, maybe if I go out, there are some specific places that I'll go, monitor, and come back. Take videos, and we'll see those in the crowd. And very soon too, you'll see those who are the electors. You'll see videos. They will tell your correspondents too to show us the video. You see the people in the crowd. Where am I going is the low class, the artisans, and those who are just the background people. You don't see the intellectuals going out to vote. And because of that, you see that the last election wasn't campaign issue driven. We thought that it would be issue driven. The various town hall meetings that that took place were not that significant to tilt the issue of voting. Yes, this time around a lot of youths were very busy, but I like what one of your correspondents said in his report. He said what he's seeing, it seems that there is more social media activity than physical
what is happening on
ground. And INEC does not count social media activity. INEC will count activity on ground.
Physical vote.
The physical vote. That's why my problem is, I am a grassroots person. So the issue is the people. Can we now transmit and ensure that those who are going to vote will vote reasonably? Or they will just continue? Because those that I see, it is the level of the voters that will determine the result that we are going to have. Nothing more than that. A situation where 80% of the voters stay away, leaving 20% to the ordinary class of people. We'll soon see. You'll see, even in some highbrow area, it is only the houseboys, the drivers, and their hands that will go out to vote. The big boys will be in the sitting room, sipping tea and enjoying a very wonderful dish or menu prepared by Madame of the house on a day like this. Let me have a good meal this morning. Since all these weeks, one has been running up and down. This Saturday, since it's a lockdown day, let me just have a time at home, eat a good meal, and relax over a cup of beer or drink or whatever, and of course maybe play with the children if they still have some at home. Or they relax and be calling their friends, and of course in front of the television. So until again that narrative changes, that mindset changes, that even the big men, the very important personality, I'm involved in this thing, we will see the intelligentsia, they will not want to be involved in the process. They will say, politics, no. I'm equally a pastor. The church itself is not playing its role in encouraging its members to be involved in the political process and in the electoral process until maybe recently. And you can't just, a habit die hard. So for you to think that, yes, there will be a very big shift this time, it will only be miracle.
Right. I want us to look at the issue of votes. You talked about that earlier. And there's a school of thought that says that the commodification of votes in Nigeria has become a permanent fixture in our politics.
Yes.
How do we begin to change this story?
That's what I just said. It has to be the engagement, people like you and I, involving ourselves in the process. Thank God this 2023 election has thrown up a lot of professionals. But the professionals, have they been able to galvanize their...
But how much impact can those professionals make when they are not in mainstream politics?
That's what I'm saying. That's what the statement, that can the professional be able to galvanize their own to be involved. Like my own group of people now, the lawyers, they are hardly involved, but now you see them train themselves up gradually, coming up, You see engineers, architects.
In fact, the NBA has a monitoring team
Yes.
for this election.
Yes. So if the NBA has, that's where I'm going. Thank you, my brother. The NBA monitoring team, the what's it now? The engineers. In fact, the journalists too. Yes, you cover it. You are involved in it. You are involved. But yeah, do you have a monitoring team? Yes, you are involved in. Of course, we'll see all of you on the spot, monitoring and reporting the election. But are you involved? You see, when professionals begin to get involved in this process, then we'll take increase the level of those that will be partakers. Then we'll now begin to put those who are the what's it now, political leaders who are seeking our votes. We'll put them on their toes. Thank God my brother is a political scientist. I know he will go to the center of the ferry of the the ferry.
Maybe he should be involved in active politics as well.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. You can't sit down and say that, yeah, we are preaching it. No, you must be involved in it. That involvement will now add value to the system.
Right.
Not that you just sit down and leave it to those who are, like Matikuka said, those who are who pass out of university. We have professors like him. How many professors do we have in the political system? Oshibajo, that is a professor. He was drafted in. He's not a politician. So when we have people who are indeed professionals, not professionals, professional politicians, but professionals in politics, then you see a whole lot of difference. Because the way they will bring their issues, the way they will bring their thoughts, the way they will bring developmental ideas will be very, very great. Look at Ghana. The Ghanaian electoral process is dominated by professionals. The last president was a professional, and of course you saw the way he moved things up. And of course, do we need to go to Kigali? So when we look at those who man political office, one, there will be people who are experienced, people who have moral turpitude, people who have the fear of God, people who look at it that, can we encourage this type of a thing in this country? No, not with my time. Look at the cashless policy. Obviously, this is not a policy that should have come up. If at all, this is not the first time cash will have a change in the monetary system. The old and the new, they will be together, working together until in time. Not that you just say no, beam, you cut it off. That's not how things are done. Right. But it can only be done because they know that the people that they are doing, that they are the benefactors. At once they will just go on the street protest for one day, and of course they will call the security agents and they will quell them, and that's all. No, we are looking at a situation where we will up the game. People like me, people like him, and of course I've already given my own word that indeed I'm throwing my heart in the ring come 2027. I hope I'll challenge my brother here too. That he will leave the academics.
We wish you well.
He will take up the challenge.
I'd like you to look at, from your perspective, these issues raised by Barrister Ogunade in terms of how we can begin to change our story as a nation. Elections shouldn't be about, thuggery, over militarization, over policing, violence, and so on and so forth. How do we begin to change the story?
Well, you're raising a very germane question, and which might take eternity to respond to. Because
let it take a few minutes.
Profs do it in a big way. Long way.
A few minutes.
Okay. Well, the issues are multidimensional. And in fact, I don't know. I'm confused where to begin.
Just start somewhere.
Where to begin. But do you know what? Yeah. Well, maybe I should start on this note. We need to rethink the Nigerian state as constituted. And how do I mean? The nature of politics and the struggle for power encourages vote buying, encourages desperation for political power, encourages militarization of politics, encourages politics as warfare, and so on and so forth. I thought the question or the challenge should be, and we had mentioned this severally, that some of us are getting tired and exhausted about discussing Nigeria. Right. We need to mediate the nature of politics in Nigeria. Claude Ake had described politics as warfare. Right. Politics as struggle for power through other means. unrestrained, he had actually qualified it a struggle for power. The question is, why is the struggle for power unrestrained? Because the economic benefits of political office is rather high. You know, the nature of politics in Nigeria is such that the member of the political class, you know, assumes economic gains and economic wealth by virtue of controlling political power, which presupposes that economic resources are pillaged and exploited for private and group economic interests. The point I'm making is, we need to rethink our politics. Our politics is based, again, on zero-sum game. First past the post, simple majority. And simple majority that wins takes all. I guess we should begin to think about sharing political power. When we begin to share political power, in my view, and when fractions of the political class realize that, well, even if I do not emerge as a winner, it was still possible, or it could still be possible to share power among 2 or 3 of the major political parties and candidates. I suppose that this unrestrained struggle may become mediated. Right. How do I mean? Nigeria, as mentioned this severally and I'll repeat it, should consider the proportional representation system, particularly for the parliament at the state assembly level and the national assembly level. Let me give an instance. I suppose 2007 election, if I'm right, our friend and comrade Larry Arogundade contested for Lagos West Senate on the platform of the National
Let's not mention
Conscience.
parties.
Okay. well, there were elections in 2007 for Senate, Lagos West, and 3 major candidates emerged. The first candidate had 200,000 plus votes, was declared the winner. The second candidate had between 75 and 80,000 votes, and the third candidate had 50,000 plus votes. If it were a proportional representation-based system, the seats in parliament will be multiple seats. It won't be a single seat. It won't be an instance where Lagos has 1 seat in Senate, and that whoever wins represents in Senate. And that explains why politicians are desperate. But if the seats could be shared on the basis of percentage vote cast, there will usually be a threshold that whichever political party that gets 55% automatically gets a seat, and the second party that gets 35% gets the second seat. It could assist a great deal. We should consider it at least for parliamentary elections.
But right now, the winner takes it all.
At the moment, it's a winner takes all. You know, it's a zero-sum game. And when it's zero-sum, politicians are desperate and they resort to Machiavellian means to seek political power. You know, we could go on and on. We need fundamental rethink. See, the Electoral Act, let me conclude, is not sufficient to address the structural political imbalances in Nigeria's political economy. We need to address the national question. And the national question will address some of these issues we're discussing in terms of the nature of the political superstructure and the nature of political representation and so on and so forth. You know, in fact, we also need to rethink the presidential democracy and so on and so forth. So the Nigeria is far from it. The booby traps in the political landscapes are too many that may not assist Nigeria to grow.
Okay. When we come back, we'll discuss this further. Vice Admiral, just before we go, because of time, let me have you give us, in less than a minute, what are your expectations for today?
My expectation is that the people should just go cast their votes. The issue of violence is my problem. We have elections all over the world, and we don't see this violence that we have in Nigeria. And I'm happy with the way the international partners have come in and all over to ensure that what they are preaching is that peace will reign. Go out and vote. Just as I said earlier on, today is not a feast day. is a thumb day.
Right.
That's my expectation.
Right.
And of course, the best candidate wins.
All right, Dr. Shetelu, also let me ask you, what are your expectations as we round up this session?
Well, I'm not very optimistic. I have fears that the turnout might be poor. I have fears that some of the youths, you know, will not be active physically today, and that would be disastrous for Nigeria and the political outcome. Well, I expect there will be pockets of violence, but on the whole, the election will likely be peaceful. But we need more than peaceful election. We need, in my view, election that will be credible and that will address the status quo deficit in Nigeria.
Right. Thank you very much, Barrister Wale Ogunade. We'll get to talk to you much later as this program progresses later. And also Dr. Shetelu, we'll have you join us during the second session. That's about all we can take on this segment of Election Watch on Galaxy TV. We'll be back at 9 a.m. as we bring you more updates, interviews, and breaking news. Stay with us.